thanks guys for being on the panel this morning. I think, like why we'd all rather be doing stuff in person. I think this is where we are for right now. And it's challenging times for everybody, but we're learning to adapt. And so I think the focus this morning is really on, entrepreneurship and what does it look like in our, current situation. And specifically, how has it impacted you guys and your businesses and what you're doing and how you think about your business moving forward. And I think the discussion that we had last week was similar. I think what we wanted to add this time around was the opportunity for you entrepreneurs on the panel, if you are facing some challenges or kind of thinking about doing things differently or want some feedback from the other panelists or from people who are watching, we'd like to have that conversation. And then also for people who are tuning in, if anybody there has something that they want to discuss openly, I think we want to make it really interactive. So a lot of times, the more people that group around a problem, more innovative the problem solving can become. So hopefully maybe we can do that for each other right now. So the panelists this morning are Stephen and Taylor Smith from Muse Gallery. Hello.
How you guys doing?
And then Christina VanDam from Zeal Aerial Fitness.
Morning.
And then we have Chris Marsman from Garden Geek Urban Farms.
Hey.
So good morning to everybody. I explained to everybody last week that I am looking on a tablet. That's how I'm in here on Zoom. So I don't get a gallery view of everyone. So what I'm going to do just to start things off is we'll start out by having each one of you kind of talk a little bit about your business, what you do, and then how are things going for you right now? What are you doing differently? What are the challenges and whatnot? And we'll go through everybody. And then we'll kind of do some questions and answers. And if there are people watching that want to make comments or have a question that's pertinent to what we're saying right at the moment, feel free to send in those questions and we can address them now, or if it's something you want to reserve till the end, that's good too. So this is pretty casual. There's no strict agenda and or format. So why don't we start with Stephen and Taylor? How are you guys doing?
We're doing all right. We're from Muse. It's an interactive art gallery on the west side. And this has changed the way that we can operate quite a bit.
Yeah. So yeah, Muse, we started in 2018. And we were originally going to be a photo studio. We ended up being an art gallery. So this time is a little weird for us because it's like we purchased the property. So it's like for some people are closing their businesses. Hopefully not a lot of people, but we have to maintain the mortgage and stuff like that. But we always try to come up with some innovative things that are non-traditional during times like this. We've been having like artists reach out to us for things like, interactive online art shows, things like that, and trying to come up with some ways that we could still engage our audience and still engage the community without having people actually inside the building.
But stuff like that, it's not generating any revenue, right? It's just sort of engagement or?
Yeah, we haven't did it yet, but there's ways that money can be made. Like if we had an art show and then they're buying the art that we're showing, we still can commission from the art that's sold. So we just have to figure out exactly how we would want to do it.
Right.
I started researching and seeing other galleries doing it. But just figuring out a way that works for us and artists.
Yeah. When you think about that, and as you're looking at it, is it something that you kind of can look at as when things get back to normal, that it would be something that you would continue, or are you looking at it as just a, you know,
So
for right now?
when we worked with this art, we were seeing different ways that we could work with people that might not be as mobile anyway. Mm-hmm. So we had people do like, what was it called? When they do the virtual tours.
Yeah. And we did a virtual tour when we first became an art prize venue. We had a way for people to view the space virtually. And it started out kind of as a way to share it with our friends and family, because all of Steven's family is in San Francisco, so a way that they could kind of be a part of like what we were doing. So we've played around with it a little bit, but I think once you start having sales, it's kind of like, how do you do that on the back end in a way that's organized and seamless for, you know, all the people involved.
Yeah, we were worried about like selling the same art twice.
Yeah,
like little kinks that we had to work out. But I'm always a like go person. I want to go with it, and she's like, "Hey, let's plan. Let's get let's have our full plan in motion before we put it out." Which that's the right way. I'm always excited to do something.
Yeah. I know one of the other things we talked a little bit yesterday, and you had said that you're kind of using this time to kind of look into just some of the things about your business that you haven't had time to really spend, you know. Talk about that a little bit, because, you know, that's interesting. A lot of times we're so involved in the business and we're, you know, going fast and furious that there's a lot of things, you know, you should do or could be doing, but that kind of takes a back seat. And now you're able to kind of focus on some of your business practices and things like that you've kind of been wanting to do for a while. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we've been trying to take some time to just plan out the next few years, especially like our involvement with the business. Everything kind of launched so quickly and we've just been kind of going. But even personally, things are shifting with our family. I'm due to have another baby in August.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So with having 2 little ones, I mean, our son will be 2 in July. So it will be another big transition for us. And when we went through this the first time, I was kind of coming off of maternity leave and coming right into Art Prize. And the timeline is very similar for us. So just saying, okay, what does that look like for our involvement? And where do we need some assistance? And just kind of getting organized on the back end so that as this all kind of comes around again, we can handle it better and just enjoy the moment and not feel overwhelmed as, you know, Art Prize and all those other really exciting things happen.
Yeah,
that's great.
So like partnering, we want to like partner with people who are like experts or becoming experts, like as far as like day-to-day gallery operations, partnering like with Grand Valley's students that are in the gallery class, and then it's like, okay, you guys can come here a few days a week and actually operate a gallery during the opening hours. Or some people from Kendall can probably curate a show, things like that. Just partnering with people and giving them real gallery experience. And like she said, logistically, just making sure that everything is in place.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, so now's a good time to kind of take some time to maybe put some of those plans in place or kind of create an action plan or something like that.
Do some interviews and get our employee.
Yeah. Why don't we move on to Christina, and then we'll circle back. We'll go to Chris after that, and then we'll circle back for some more stuff.
All right.
Good morning.
Hi, I'm Christina. I own Zeal Aerial Fitness. So we opened our doors in September 2018, and we're West Michigan's first all-in-one aerial fitness studio. So we do pole, silks, hoop, and we just recently added aerial yoga. So I was forced to close my doors on March 16th because of the executive order. Starting that weekend though, on Friday, once the schools in Kent County shut down, that's when I really started to like follow what was going on and starting to make like contingency plans of like, okay, this is what we'll do. So when we got the executive order, I first was like really transparent with my employees. I have 5 staff members who teach with me. So that was step one, just being like, look, this is what's going on. And then from there, like I formulated a plan, but didn't launch anything until last week. So we have moved to the online class form. We also have been really transparent with our members, which I was really surprised about. So I sent an email out to people and said, like, this is what's going on. If you would like to continue your membership, we would love if you'd still pay. And here are these classes that we're giving you. But we understand people are going through hard times. And we tried to like sweeten the deal for our members too. So we gave them like, for people who have a punch pass, it's like a 2-for-1 deal. So 2 virtual classes would equal 1 aerial class, because we realized like this is not what they signed up for. And then our members who have either a 6-month or a 1-year membership, if they don't put their memberships on hold, we're going to give them, however long we're closed, half of that on the back end. So if we're closed for 2 months, they'll get an extra month on the back end of their memberships. So I was really surprised how many emails I got back from people saying like, yep, keep my membership going. I might not be able to come to the classes, but just like, thank you for like being honest about it. I think my biggest struggle right now is that there are so many free fitness things, and it's hard to do anything different when you're at home. Lots of people don't have access to different types of workout things at home. So everybody right now in the fitness industry is trying to figure out how to be creative and innovative with things that people would have at their houses.
Right. And for, I mean, most of your classes, obviously the aerial stuff, people don't have them
No.
at home. And so, yeah, I mean, it's clearly, so what are you offering then? What are you?
Yep, we're doing 7 different classes. So we have a class going every day of the week. So we have just a basic yoga class. We have a flexibility class that our teacher had been doing anyway, and our students really enjoyed the class. So we just kept that one. So she just does it virtually. We have a chair dance class. So we're learning like a little routine using a chair and doing some like upside down things on chairs. We have a strength and conditioning class for aerialists. We have a low, what is she calling? Oh, floor work, where it's more just kind of like moving your body, sort of dance-ish, but on the floor. And then we have a teacher who actually, she has a pole in their house, and we have 4 clients who have poles. So they're doing, they're calling it low flow pole, because lots of people don't have ceiling height to be able to go upside down because they'll smack the ceiling with their feet.
Right.
So she's doing that, but people can also use, People can also use just a wall. Like, so she's making it available that people can do whatever she's doing against a wall. And then we have a sculpt class, sculpt for aerialists. So it's kind of a mix of bar, Pilates, all kind of in one.
Wow. Yeah, you had to innovate there.
Yeah. Thankfully, I have a wide variety of what the teachers were able to teach and what they wanted to teach from home. And they were all on board. They're like, yes, we want to do this. So it was exciting.
That's great. Chris.
Hey, you can see me?
Oh, I can see you. Yeah. Oh, look at you with your big check in the background.
It's my best art. It's my favorite art.
That's great.
It's my motivation every day.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what's going on with you?
Staying pretty busy, actually. We've kind of leveled off in the last 2 weeks after the stay at home.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to interrupt you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Kind of tell people what you do.
Okay. So I have an indoor vertical farm for microgreens, and I grow for a few supermarkets in the area, Ken's, Kingma's, and Bridge Street Market right now. And I'm in the process of setting up expansion. I just got a massive hydroponic unit that's about to go online this week, which will increase my yields by like 5 times what I can put out now. So yeah, it's pretty much like broccoli and arugula and some real basic things, but the microgreens are between 8 and 40% more nutrient dense. So that's been one thing that's been really beneficial for me because people are trying to boost their immune system. So I actually had a huge peak in sales when this all happened. So yeah, things have been going really good. Except for when the stay-at-home came into place, then fewer people were going to the grocery store. So I've kind of leveled off, and I'm getting a lot of people asking me for home delivery because there's fewer hands touching the product, like at the store. So that's what I'm in the process right now of relaunching. Originally, that's what I was going to do was home delivery, and then I went away from it. So I'm relaunching that this week, a home delivery program, and then working with Dorganics to get it in with them. And pitch that and have that delivered. And the other thing I thought was really cool, I've seen some people doing across the country, and I considered it at one point, especially since you have the kids home, all day now, is an at-home kit for microgreens, just a small kit where they can have it on the counter. And so I'm putting that together right now, and people can kind of grow them there. Some people have asked me like, oh, don't you think people will just grow them themselves and not buy it from you anymore? And from what I've seen that people have these kits, it doesn't look like it'll be any type of issue. And we're setting up a monthly subscription plan for seeds as well, so they can kind of keep that going. So it's a good kind of like science project for the kids. All my kids are doing it, and I'm testing it out right now. I'm going to be testing it out in the next week here, and hopefully we'll launch that as well. So I guess for me, a lot of avenues have actually opened up with the virus, and I'm just hoping that even when it's over, people see the nutritional value and continue with it now. So yeah, it's just things have been really good. I still I haven't slowed production at all. I still get rid of everything that I grow in each grow. I've donated a little as well out of that. So yeah, things have really gone in the right direction so far.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, certain, I know we talked a couple of weeks ago, and I remember you saying, you almost felt bad that a lot of businesses were really shutting down, and this was affecting them in such an adverse way, and yours is almost the opposite.
Yeah. When I originally was going to start, I was going to go after just restaurants. And now I'm just so thankful that wasn't my route, because that's how many of the microgreens, at home microgreens companies even start, is going after restaurants or catering companies. And now I see them. I'm in chat rooms with people all over the world that have, microgreens companies, and a lot of them are scrambling to figure out what to do because all the restaurants, they cut that right out, or they're shut down, or there's no more catering events going on and stuff now. So I'm super thankful I made the choice to go into the supermarkets at that point, because a lot of them I'm going to shut my farm down now because restaurants aren't taking anything. We don't know when it's going to come back at this point. Wow. So people are pushing the home delivery really hard, but luckily I was in with some good stores. I actually have more store expansion opportunity right now that I'll be getting into within the next couple weeks. So yeah, it's definitely worked out for me, and I'm, it feels sometimes a little guilty, but then again, I feel like I'm glad that I get to bring, with how nutrient dense these are, I'm glad I get to bring something that can boost immune systems, and handing it out to some of the elderly people that you get worried about. I'm like, here, boost yourself and get it over to my mom and everybody. It was like, make sure you're putting these in your smoothies and stay healthy. It's like, you really need this stuff.
Yeah. So I saw a question come across. I think it was
Erica.
Yeah.
So Erica said, do you think there will be a shift in how consumers behave after the ban is released for each of your businesses?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a really interesting conversation, because I wonder when things, start to come back. I do think our society is going to take this whole experience and we're going to shift how we live, what we do. And, so for each of your businesses, have you thought about, doing anything differently, or when we're allowed to open businesses up again, are you just going to go back to what you were doing before, or has this experience made you think a little bit differently? Anybody can answer. Stephen, Taylor, what do you guys think?
I have a little bit of smoothie, a little ginger, but I believe it might be contingent upon what we see during these next few months, the way that people act or the way people react. I don't know how America would act if, you know how they have the charts and the high slopes. If we see millions of deaths, I'm not sure what the effect will be. And I don't believe it would be business as usual if that was the case. But I do know, like, once we come out of all this, people will need some of the products that will be for sale. A lot of things that go with like relaxation or counseling or things that make you feel relieved of stress. I think a lot of those businesses will get a lot of attention. I would hope that people invest in those type of businesses. I know that we'll be conscious about the art shows that we'll have in the space. Already with, like, as we were saying before, how we wanted to get back to the root of our business and set like our own conditions. Like we already, before this happened, have like reflected, and we didn't start this business to have some of the events that we have here at the space. Like sometimes it's stuff that has nothing to do with art. It's cool, it's still fun, but we're like, going forward, let's stick to exactly what we want it to be in the space. So being more intentional about the events we have here and just little things like that. What would you say?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that people are in need of social interaction, and people do gather in our space. So I think that as we kind of get back to doing that, our place will kind of pick up with just the events, and people are trying to push things further into the fall, which is exciting. So hopefully we'll be able to actually have those things in the gallery and be able to allow people to come back together.
Yeah, and the exciting thing is, like, with all the planning we've been doing, a lot of the stuff that we have inside our heart is youth-based. And I work for GRPS. It's like, I was telling her yesterday, I feel guilty being paid and not working. So it's like, we start dedicating our free time to developing our plan for the youth and putting that together. So like, before we heard more about this extending until the summer, we was starting to create our summer plan, like for the youth, which was still created, but most likely it probably won't happen. But to be able to devote a lot of our time and artistic energy to some of the youth creatives, that's where that's how we'll make a big shift. And we would hope, so the question was, do you think there would be a shift in how consumers behave? We would hope that, we were talking yesterday, we would hope that parents invest more into their children in terms of education and have a better understanding for how teachers operate and respect teachers more, as well as like understanding what a day might look like for a child while they're in a learning environment. So we would hope that they invest in people that put their efforts into educating their children.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, for however long this takes, I think everyone is really taking this pause. And I think it does make you sort of reevaluate, life in general, and And so I do think the human interaction is something that people took totally for granted. And now that we don't have that, we're seeing how much we miss that. But I think also slowing down our lives, and like Stephen, you said, what's really important, things, we need to take time for ourselves. We need to relax. We need to take care of our health. I mean, I think sometimes we're on a treadmill and just not thinking of any of this. And all three of your businesses, even though they're all different, they are really focused on, health, well-being, creativeness, introspection. So it is really interesting. Christina, what do you think? How will this affect you?
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a huge shift. So we already decided right away when we were going to open our doors back again, we're limiting our class sizes. So a report came out from the American Circus Society, and it's like a 16-page report on like how to properly sanitize and clean all of your apparatus. And so we clean everything after every class, but now we're going to be totally disinfecting everything after every class. So we used to have participants share an apparatus. So like there would be 2 people on a set of silks or 2 people on a hoop. So when we reopen our doors, there will just be 1 person that will have their own apparatus. So there won't be any sharing. And then we're also going to limit the classes that we do have. So we had back-to-back silk. It's mostly the fabric that has to have the longest time in between to disinfect. So we're going to be limiting those classes a little bit more than what we have had before we shut our doors. But I also think that people are going to be very aware of their spending habits. During this time, even my husband and I have talked, and we're like, wow, like we're not spending any money right now. Like this is crazy. So I'm hopeful that, like Stephen said, people will continue to invest in themselves. But I also think that there's going to be a big shift in what people spend their money on and how they spend their money and their time. So I'm hoping that as a small business that will be something that health and wellness, people will want to jump into that still. But you never know. I mean, my husband's family, they are big moviegoers, and they spend probably $100 a month at least going to the movies because they make it this big deal. They, get popcorn, they get all this stuff. And we were chatting with them the other day, and they're like, yeah, we don't really know if we want to go to the movies anymore because
Wow.
like after all of this, they're like, yeah, we don't know. So I think there's going to be a big shift for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, oh, go ahead.
Do you feel like for all of our business, when I first heard the question, I was thinking, will the customers and consumers be skeptical? But
I think for sure.
Skeptical of what? Like
just built into their like makeup, like,
oh,
is it clean? Or just having all these new fears.
Yeah.
And buying with those fears driving their purchases and things like that.
Yeah, I mean,
I had a lot of artists try to I've had some artists try to come to us just to capitalize off of COVID-19. And it's like, I'm not with that.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Christina, if this affects your class size and things like that, I mean, how does that affect your business model then?
So I think that we would be okay for now because of just the way that we have about 60 members right now. And so I think in running that, I would have to add more classes, but also at the same time, we don't want to add more classes, especially it's mostly the silks. That's the biggest concern because they just take a long time to sanitize in between each round. The poles and the hoops are really easy. You can just, and we always do this anyway. We just spray them down with straight up rubbing alcohol and they're nice and clean because they're metal. So it's mostly the concern of the silks. And I've been chatting with, I have 2 silk instructors about what they feel is best and what they think moving forward. And even some of my teachers have said, I'm teaching a lot. I'd like to step back, maybe like 1 or 2 classes. So it would be a temporary shift for when we open our doors, and then hopefully by like next January, depending on when we can open our doors, by next January we'd be back running in full swing. Because I think once people do get out and start getting going again, and back kind of into their routine, I think that they will feel more comfortable to do things like share equipment.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, you know, it will take a while for people to bounce back. I mean, I think it's just human nature when you've had, you know, a shock. You know, if you fall off your bike and you hurt yourself, it takes a while before you want to get back on that bike. And I mean, obviously that's a pretty simplistic example, but I think, you know, it will be a slow back to normal kind of cycle, but it's interesting. Oh, I just saw, what was that comment?
I'm muted. It wasn't a question, but just a comment for Christina. Somebody just mentioned with the silks that you could possibly talk to Steelcase or Forcia via Seamless, who we work with, to learn about the materials and coatings that might work from the silk. Like if there's a coating you could put on it that might help with the cleaning. So just a suggestion. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chris, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit about, you know, what do you think of consumers and people's attitudes are going to be shifting? I mean, you touched on it by just saying that you think people are going to be more health conscious.
Yeah, more health conscious, and I think we'll probably see, well, we're seeing a shift to home delivery. Like Kingma's didn't do curbside pickup and delivery prior to this. Now they do. And I know Organics has had a huge increase, and I feel like if this, you know, which is trending, starts to peak even more and it gets even worse, I think those home delivery things may stay relevant much longer than, I talked to some people like, oh, you know, people want to get back out and they want to go to the stores. But I mean, if we follow the trends, or if we follow the, you know, what the projections are, I think people will have a paranoia of going back to the stores probably for quite some time. And I think some of these other things will stay in place. And I think we'll see a lot with, you know, local farmers producing and going straight to customer. There's a lot of farm stand stuff going up right now. If people didn't have farm stands, those are going up, and I think people will start to buy from those more as well. I wonder if any government regulations will come into place with small farmers. I worry about that with any type of, you know, I have a, you know, a clean room when I do my harvesting, and everything's, you know, pretty much clean room, but I wonder what kind of regulations will come out if the death toll increases quite a bit. But I've seen, so I've had there's been a huge thing with seeds. Like some of the major seed companies for urban farms are backed up like 14-day fulfillments. Like Todd Seeds out of Wixom, they're like 300 orders in the hole. So they have tons of seeds, but people are going in and buying like small amounts. So they have to package each seed order, and people are buying them, you know, just in case they have to grow their own food. And then other people are buying them for massive community. They're donating them to community gardens and stuff that somebody will run in case it's a smaller community. And I'm getting a lot of people asking me questions about growing. So I think there'll be a lot more education. I think people are going to maybe get back to trying to teach, you know, themselves and their kids, like, how do you grow? Can I have this skill in case I do need it, you know, in the future? So I think we'll see a lot more of that. People wanting to not just go to the grocery store, understand how they can grow it themselves. And I don't think it'll take away from the small farms as much. I think people just want the skill to be able to do it. So many people spend so much time just at home, Netflix or whatever. I think it's opening people's eyes. I was reading articles about the victory farms that they had back, I forget what it was, like World War I or something. And, you know, they're starting to come back, but people are like, I don't know how to grow. So YouTube's getting hit with, you know, all kinds of stuff. So that's another thing I'm, you know, considering now is, you know, growing on YouTube and giving people, you know, information and stuff like that. So I think seeing those things change.
Yeah. When you guys were, you know, when you started thinking about your business, before you even got started, did you ever, I mean, obviously you think about a business, you try to get it started, you try to plan, but this is obviously something that you couldn't plan for. So how does that, you know, do you have any advice or any thoughts on, you know, anybody right now that wants to be an entrepreneur, is thinking about a business idea? How do you, this is stupid, how do you plan for something you can't plan for? Like, how do you have that built inside of you to know that, you know, someday everything can change? And this is probably true for non-entrepreneurs as well. You know, I mean, for somebody that is just working in a job, you know, something can change, you know, in a day, obviously. So how does that impact your thinking moving forward?
Early on, someone asked us to start a business, told us to start a business savings. That's one simple thing that I would say to a new entrepreneur is have a business savings. And now we'll be working on building ours as well.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from all of this is don't be reactive. So like when the news happened, I felt like there was a lot of panic that I felt and like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? And so just kind of sitting down, and I gave myself 24 hours to come up with a plan of like, okay, this is what's happened. This is our new reality. How can I plan? And then I like told staff and told members everything else instead of just being like, oh, I guess we're shut down.
Right.
So, and it's hard when it's something that you feel so passionately about. It's your business, you know, it's something that you've been working on for a long time. And I think that it's okay to take time for yourself and before you tell everyone what you're doing with your business.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I just saw a comment come through that schools are closed now for the rest of the year. So
yeah, a couple people have messaged us to let us know the governor just made an announcement that schools are closed for the rest of the year. And then Jorge wanted to know if that, do you think, obviously you're just learning this, but is there going to be any impact on your business?
So we run a Zeal Kids program that we just launched in January. So we were in the second round of our kids program. So because of that, I don't know like what stipulations she's included into this. We were planning on opening our doors and extending this through for the students just because they only had 2 classes for the spring semester. So yeah, I don't know what the new rules will be, if we can have these classes for kids or not. I know the YMCA, my son was enrolled in a class and they refunded us. They didn't even say like, hey, we're not having class. They just refunded us our money. So yeah, I'll have to look in to see what the stipulations are.
mm-hmm.
I know it directly affects us in terms of the public and people who's booked with us. There's been a lot of people who've been kind of lingering as far as whether they should cancel their events. We've been getting hit with so many refunds. So we just got an email about a refund. So when people see like schools closed, they're like, oh, this is for real. Like for real.
Yeah.
In this event, and it's like they're canceling left and right, but it's like I'm a people person, so it's like I'm understanding, okay, you might have lost your job. All right, here's your refund, but it's like it's digging very, very deep into like everything that our business has.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when you're, yeah, I mean, you can understand how people would want that, but then do they understand that you're out, you know, you're not bringing any business right now? So it's kind of a, you know, I mean, like Christina is offering people, you know, if they stay with her, they get something on the back end. You know, maybe you could, if people are canceling and wanting a refund, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you're probably talking to people about, instead of canceling, maybe rescheduling. But I think that's a hard mindset for people to be in right now.
Yeah.
Chris, what are your thoughts on school ending. I mean,
I think it's one of those things again where I don't know, I almost feel guilty saying it, but it's when people are, you know, really into these different activities they can do with their kids.
right.
You know? So like the kit thing is gonna, I think, be huge. I know some people are even like getting like these worm compost things they have inside, and they're doing those, and they're doing, you know, all kinds of things. I just, you know, had given my kids are over with their mother, and I give them like $100 worth of different flowers and different stuff to start a garden out there. So they're getting out, you know, to do that. And I think having these kits on the counter and showing them how to do it, I think actually it'll, you know, unfortunately be good for me to get those out there. At least it'll be an educational thing for the kids. And I have especially one variety that grows, the pea shoots. It always blows people's mind how much kids like those, because so many kids won't eat the vegetables. I actually had this mom at Bridge Street, she had like 2-year-old or 3-year-old twins. I seen her across the way. They're like picking through her purse. I'm like, I'm gonna go over there and give them some pea shoots. And I'm like, hey, can I give these to your daughters? And she's like, I guess, okay. And when I was walking away, I started eating them. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. They're eating them. And then she came back around and she's like, what did you put on these? My kids never eat any peas or anything. So I think when I start to, you know, kind of do some promotions on, you know, how much the kids like them and stuff, I think it'll probably increase my sales there on the pea shoot side of things. For parents that are trying to get their kids to eat them, because they'll snack on them. My kids will bring them in their lunch just for their snack. I mean, they'll go in the fridge. I had to tell them when I had my grow operation here, I'm like, don't go harvest all my peas. I gotta sell those because and sunflower too. My son will sit there and like, because they're like a bigger, they're not as small as some of the other ones, and he'll put a little ranch on a plate and just dip sunflowers and eat them. He'll eat like 7 plates. I'm like, slow down, you're eating the profits, dude. Relax. So I think for me, I can, you know, kind of get it out there in some other ways and promote nutrition with it, and getting kids their vegetables and stuff like that. So I guess for me, again, it'll be good. I hope it's just more of an opportunity to get people in the right direction, you know, nutrition and stuff like that. And
I think it provides a lot of opportunity. Like, as far as like, it's exciting for me. I know that we're connected to a lot of students in our, like, on our Instagram and our inbox. We recently opened like a music studio. Kids are super interested. They're wanting to come in now. I'm like, we can't come in right now.
I know, really.
But as far as like doing things for kids, it's like it opens a whole new lane. Especially with school, just like with school closing, it's like I'm gonna reach out to artists. We're gonna come up with a curriculum, because that's what I went to. I got my master's in education. That's what I do. I'm gonna create an art curriculum, and we're gonna send it out to parents. But I also gotta remember, and we all gotta remember that like we're business owners, and we have to charge for the product. It's real easy to give it out for free, and it's like that's what comes naturally. But I do have to remember, and I still have to remember to charge for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, on the one hand, you know, you're feeling compassion for people, and on the other hand, you are, like you said, you're a business owner, and so you almost have to, you know, think creatively about how this can affect you as a business, not just as a human being. And so you're right. I mean, you can be really helpful by producing curriculum. And Christina, you know, you can do some classes for kids. Mm-hmm. And Chris can do seed kits and stuff. And those are, you know, those are great things. But, you know, as a business owner, you got to remember that.
With how much people are at home, as well, using Netflix and YouTube, things like that. If you can come up with something that's good and make good videos and get a following on YouTube, I've watched people take off quick and get advertising, you know, money through there by having so many followers. And that's one of the things, like, I know my kids are like, I got to figure out something where they follow me on YouTube so I can make money, Dad, you know. And so my one daughter, like, before I even started selling, she started selling my trial microgreens at like a lemonade stand on the side. But now she wants to learn to grow and do her own videos on YouTube. And I mean, look at like one year, somebody just opening eggs, like made like $10 million on YouTube for advertising. So those little toy eggs. So she wants to do something like that. So maybe even any of us come up with ways that we can, you know, be educational or entertainment with YouTube stuff. I know there's an awesome microgreens company I follow in Texas that they were going to go production, but so many followings, they got so many followers through their trials that they did, they stopped going to production and selling, and then they just do trials for people to watch, and they're just growing like crazy all over the world, and they make their money through the advertising money that comes in.
Yeah, and with that, one of the best investments for us as entrepreneurs with kids is buying our kids good cameras. Because when they learn how to use them, we get good content. Good content.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Stephen, I know I have a bunch of friends that they every day at 1 o'clock, this guy, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he does an art every day at 1 o'clock. It's a live, I think it's Facebook that he does it live through, and he leads kids through a drawing. So he'll read like the children's books. So he did like Don't Let Pigeon Drive the Bus, and then he like showed kids how to draw the pigeon. So I know like that I have a ton of friends who do that with their kids, and I don't know if he's donation based or what, but might be something to look into.
That's cool. I'll write that
down. We've only, let's see, we've got a little more than 5 minutes, and I think what I'd love to hear is, you know, so you're kind of pivoting, you're thinking, or maybe not pivoting, but thinking of new ways to do business right now. How does that affect your ability to market? Are you even thinking about marketing? What are you doing to kind of increase business? And
you want to go back? You want to go backwards this time?
Yeah, go ahead.
I could start. I mean, I'm about, as soon as I get some of these things in place right now, with the home delivery and the kit and stuff, my marketing by Instagram and Facebook. I mean, so many people are using it now. I've talked to people who are like, my grandma's signing up for Facebook for the first time. What this book face thing I need, you know? So I'm actually ramping up to spend a lot on like the social media side of things to get the word out. I think it's going to be huge for me. I've done it in the past at past employers, so I'm very familiar with it. But I have a good friend that's helping, that's a social media manager that's coming in to help me out with that so that we can boost it and get the word out with everything. So that will probably be coming by the end of this week or next week, that I'll be spending for the first time spending money on that method of advertising. It'll probably be considerable.
Right. I mean, Christina, are you thinking about increasing your client base or just maintaining what you've got?
So we have been maintaining. That's been kind of like our big focus has been just maintaining the members. Right. But thinking about how long this shutdown could last, we want to really, I don't know if when she did her announcement, if she extended her executive order for everybody else, but I'm realistically planning on opening my doors in June. That's kind of like what I forecasted for things. So I'm taking this time to actually read some books about marketing. I'm reading Story Brand right now, and it's totally changed my frame of mind because I feel like I was just posting on social media to post on social media. So I think having a really diligent plan in place could work. I was also in the process of hiring someone to do a marketing specialist for me as this all went down. So I had a huge influx of resumes. So now I have about 150 resumes that I have to go through to be able to hire somebody to hopefully get them on board to start either in May or June as we move forward. So as soon as the shutdown happens, again, there was a huge influx of people who applied.
Right. Stephen, Taylor?
You had that cool idea about booking out in the future.
Oh, we had talked about creating some kind of promotion to get people to book ahead, like in the future. And just, I think we just have to figure out what that would look like with people are like kind of pushing some of their events out. So it's like pushing what we've already had on the schedule out and then trying to figure out what that could look like if we encourage new people to book pushed out. So we haven't quite put it on paper, but we just kind of talked about it.
Yeah. And also creating like a strategy for brand awareness. That would be, I think, good for our business in this time, just to make as many people as possible aware that we exist.
Right.
Whether it's West Michigan or whether it's in New York, just allowing people to know that Muse is in existence and it's a place that you should come visit.
Steven's story brand has blown my mind in what I thought about what brand was and what it really means.
All right, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we're going to obviously do the juice again next week. What would you guys think? I mean, we can still, I think it's really amazing to hear people's stories and hear how people are being innovative and resilient and, you know, just sharing that with everyone. But what else, aside from doing this similar thing again, is there something else that you think you guys would like us to discuss, would be helpful for either other people who are, you know, currently in business or people who are thinking about going into business? I think this is, you know, our thought as Start Garden is that how do we keep encouraging people to want to be entrepreneurs at a time like this? So those are, you know, those are some serious topics, you know, they're serious things for people to think about.
So maybe if there were some things you required of us, like to maybe research before we got on here, and it was like some keys that we shared with people that were watching, that might be helpful.
Like, give me an example.
What were you gonna say?
I have a different example. I'll come back after you.
So if you're like, what's something that helped you get over the hump in a time? I would have to think hypothetically, but it would be like a key that can go to somebody who's watching that might be thinking about starting a business. Like, what was the biggest hurdle you had to jump through with starting your business? Or what should a business owner be preparing for when trying to purchase a property or something like that? If something that's unique to the people that you're going to have on the show.
Yeah, I mean, originally the whole idea of us launching a program like the Juice was to hit on topics that entrepreneurs think about in a more conversational way and just have sort of like a fireside chat about that. We launched last week, and we, I mean, our focus has been for the last 2 weeks just on how are we surviving during this crisis. Maybe we don't focus so much on that. Maybe we just go back to talking about topics that we would normally talk about and then incorporate the fact that we are living in unprecedented times. But that doesn't mean we still don't think about the normal things that we would think about if, you know, the world had not stopped, you know?
I mean, I like it how it is, though. how this was. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be interesting. So I was talking to a guy, he's a little bit outside of Grand Rapids. He was a personal trainer, and so he lost, you know, his job. And he has a company called Forest and Flame. Well, he calls it a company right now. It's, but he operates under the cottage laws, you know, so maybe it'd be interesting to have somebody like that on there, because I contacted him. So he's this big dude's tattooed with like a bald head, but he bakes the greatest looking bread you've ever seen. And he will put up like a vote. Do you want me to, you know, post up in the parking lot here? It's like Hesperia or Grand Rapids. And I keep voting for Grand Rapids because I want to get some. And it never makes it here. So I contacted him and I was thinking, hey, you know, maybe take your online, you know, sales or whatever, and then give it to me and I'll hand it out and I'll post up somewhere and sell greens and I'll hand out your bread. But then he said in the law, he has to be the one to actually hand it out to them. or
Oh,
he's
okay.
breaking it. So it's like, I even wonder, is that something the governor, that part of it, can you suspend that for this period of time so these people can make it further and do something else? Or maybe just have somebody like that on and say, you know, what else are you running into at this point before you become, you know, completely become a business? He's doing really well, and it's amazing stuff. And he's a character, he's cool. And I wanted to try to work with him and help him out. But, you know, with some of the parts of the laws, I wasn't able to do that. And
Right.
And you know, bread, eggs, and greens are like 3 things that I keep running into that people want badly. So I was trying to hook up with people like that, but there's some parts of the law that are holding us back. So that person's like, they already have their idea they're starting it, but they're operating under the cottage, you know, laws, but haven't gone all the way. And now if you can't get into like, what is it called, an incubator kitchen or something,
Right.
because they're all shut down, you
Right.
know, then he's still held back. So maybe a good type of person to talk to see what they're running into as well, and how
Right.
things can be helped out.
Yeah, I'm not sure all incubator kitchens are completely shut down. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I'll yeah, but I will. That's a good idea.
He's a cool guy. He's a cool guy to talk to. He's got stuff looks amazing.
Okay. All right. That's great. Any parting words, anyone? Because we're after 11, so we're wrapping up. But I'll just say thank you to the 3 of you for spending an hour talking and kind of sharing what you're going through. So we really appreciate it. And, you know, obviously Start Garden is here to support entrepreneurs. So if, you know, whatever we can do to help you guys, we want to be able to do that. So reach out to us, and I'll keep in touch with you anyway, and just kind of walk through this time. But anything anybody wants to say in closing?
I would say don't be afraid to ask. Like, always ask. You never know. I was really, really nervous to ask for a rent abatement. But like, what's the worst thing that can happen right now? Like, they say no. So I think that's been the biggest thing for me, is asking, just getting out of that comfort zone and asking.
Yep.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thanks again. We will be in touch. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.